India's story is just starting. We are at the threshold, at the cusp of a transformational journey where the foundation has been built. You have strong forex reserves, 665 billion at last count. You've moved from a 4% growth, 8% inflation in 2014 to a sub 6% inflation, probably 4.5% inflation currently. 4% inflation, just reverse the equation. Aspiring to continue to grow at 8%, these uncertainties are causing some stress. But I, for one, believe we have to aspire for much faster growth in this country. We have focused on ease of doing business. We've focused on ensuring the banking system is strong. All the enablers are in place. We as a country have to resolve to leverage the demand of 1.4 billion Indians. Leverage this demand to bring economies of scale, affordability, competitiveness in our business, so that along with the Indian market, we start looking outward. We start capturing global markets. The opportune time is now. One of the biggest advantages that we have today and a learning out of COVID is what that did was it opened the world's eyes to the potential of moving large parts of their business, large parts of their organization to countries like India. And today we have nearly a 1,700 plus global capability center ecosystem operating in India. They find it so much more attractive to move those functions to countries like India. And look at how it benefits India. The GCCs pay their taxes in India. The GCCs earn us precious foreign exchange. The GCCs pay their employees in India who pay their taxes, who consume goods and services in India, adding to the economic activity here. And all in all, we get jobs in India, we get jobs relocating in India. The entire ecosystem around the GCC develops. Our exports, the aggregate exports, has reached a record level of $820 billion plus in March 25. We were at 778 last year. In such uncertain times, with global trade deeply distressed, we've maintained our merchandise trade and not let it fall. We've grown our services by about 11%, net a 6.5% growth, 42 billion. And I believe that's good for India, because I have always, and I've consistently on public platforms maintained that every country will have to focus on its competitive strengths or our comparative advantage with other countries. If we are more competitive in services, so be it. It's okay for me. It earns us the precious foreign exchange to be able to get those goods and services which we may not be competitive on. Indian industry, Indian business today has evolved enough that we don't need clutches. We don't need government to all the time be supporting and hand-holding industry, whether for exports, whether for manufacturing. We do give a few incentives, somewhat like a kickstart, just to kickstart an ecosystem or kickstart a certain sector, like the old scooters where you had that kick you gave to the machine to start its engine. It's just a kickstart that we've been doing. The PLI scheme, about 1,97,000 crores. The Semicon, 75,000 crores. The new electronic component manufacturing scheme of 22,000 crores. All of these can give you an initial leg up, but can't be a permanent subsidy. I wonder what prompted the then UPA Congress government to force India to negotiate and get into the RCEP negotiations. And believe me, I had about 200 consultation meetings with different industry sectors, farmer groups, services sector, across the board. Out of 200, there were barely 2 engagements and groups of people from any industry. Only 2 who said we should join RCEP. 198 were against it. So I said, why didn't you all say this earlier? They said, nobody asked us earlier. And we were literally being thrown to enter into an FTA with China. RCEP would have been nothing but an FTA with China. And therefore, I think it's important to recognize that we are in safe hands. We have a decisive leader who can stand on 4th of November 2019 before all the leaders of the world in attendance in the room, major powers of the whole grouping of the Eastern Bloc, and say, I refuse to join RCEP because it does not meet India's interests and the original purpose for which this grouping was coming together. And I'm so happy that Prime Minister Narendra Modi last year initiated this program, inviting 100,000 young men and women of substance to take interest in public life. Because it's like this, you know, when we were taught computers 30 years ago or 40 years ago now, sure, one of the first things we were told is garbage in, garbage out. Unless good people come into public life, we can't expect much change. When I was negotiating with Switzerland, Liechtenstein, they are a $100,000 per capita economy, but very small countries, 4 of them. They don't offer a great market or anything significant in terms of what I can get from them. I, as in India, can get from them. Whereas they wanted duty concessions and stuff like that. One fine day I said, okay, if you commit investments into India, because I know they have a lot of innovation.
And that is $100 billion.
No, it started with 10 billion.
Yeah, but
Pehle to they said, FTA mein investment commitment kahan se aa sakte? Then they said, we'll give you a separate commitment, non-binding. I said, then I'll also give you duty concessions, non-binding. And karte we started with 100,000 jobs and $10 million was their offer as a binding commitment. My counter offer was $100 billion FDI. It doesn't include Norwegian pension funds, FII, Rhythm. नहीं तो आपको लगेगा नॉर्वे तो 100 बिलियन वैसे ही डाल देगा कल की कल. That is not counted. Solid FDI in manufacturing, in innovation, in R&D. I started with $100 billion and 1 million direct jobs. And bear in mind, $100 billion will translate to $400-500 billion of investment with Indian equity, with debt, with the ecosystem that will be created. And 1 million direct jobs will be 5 million overall jobs. I stuck to my ground and we got $100 million investment commitment.
Vijay, congratulations on that. If you can just maybe 1 minute elaborate on this $100 billion investment which is likely to come over the next 15 years. Which are the major industries where they are looking to make investments, and how can, again, investors and entrepreneurs, and thank you for the offer, at least you can count me in among those 1,000 people. But how can we really take part in this $100 billion
You know what I
opportunity?
could do is, but you know, there are sectors where Switzerland has huge capabilities. Pharma could be one. Manufacturing of machines is another area where they are very good.
Sure.
All high-tech areas have been their strength.
Sure.
I don't know whether food processing is an area which interests all of you, but in my humble view, we move out of exporting raw food grains or raw sugar or raw products, agricultural products, and went up the value chain so that our sugar at $50 a kilo gets converted into a $10 or $20 chocolate and gets exported to the world. So I think it's time that we all started looking at value addition. Get it logically.
Yeah.
In the past, we were doing deals with Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, the ASEAN bloc. We did deals with Korea and Japan, but without consulting our industry about the non-tariff barriers there. So in the last 13, 14 years after the FTA with Korea, Japan, our exports to these two countries have grown by zero. Zero. Whereas Australia, UAE, which we did in 3 years, have grown by double digits CAGR every year.
Sure.
Our exports.
Absolutely.
Now, India should engage with countries where we have complementary economies, where we don't compete with each other. Now, UK with a $50,000 per capita income, or EU with a $50,000 per capita income, US with a $82,000 per capita income. The products and services that they provide will never be a competition in India. India will not become the hub which will allow transshipment or trade diversion to come to India and go to the US from India under any circumstance. And B, no Indian exporter will be encouraged or allowed to do trade diversion of his product, sending it to another country and moving it to the US to leverage on the differential of tariffs. Now look at the Prime Minister of India and look at his long-term thinking. How far he sees that if India loses the tag of a trusted partner, what is our biggest strength today in the world? We are a trusted partner of the world. 22 global awards, the highest civilian awards of some of the major countries, have been conferred on Prime Minister Modi. And for some of us who look at it from a lens of religion, most of the Islamic countries have given him the highest civilian award. So yesterday my message to all the exporters was, be cautious of what's coming in, be doubly cautious that we will not indulge in any irregular trade practice.
Sure.
And I think that's something all of you should be proud of. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. I'm so happy that God has given me this opportunity, because I remember as a child, if somebody used to ask me, or not child, let's say as a youth, when somebody used to ask me, why do you want to get into politics? I used to always say that it's the only one field in which with one signature, you can impact the lives of millions of people. One good signature can impact the lives positively for millions of people. Of course, there are ways to do the reverse also.